Welcome to the Biopharma Business Intelligence Unit, where symbolic integrity meets strategic clarity. At BBIU, we go beyond the headlines to decode the structural forces behind global biopharma, AI, and economic realignment. If you value precision, verification, and symbolic depth, this channel is for you. Subscribe now to access our weekly briefings, dossiers, and intelligence reports, and consider joining our institutional tier to unlock early warning systems, custom metrics, and exclusive strategic insight. You're not just listening, you're entering the future of epistemic intelligence. www.biopharmabusinessintelligenceunit.com.
PSA screening, detection without prevention. Executive summary. After 23 years of follow-up, the European randomized study of screening for prostate cancer reported a 13% relative reduction in prostate cancer-specific mortality among men invited to PSA-based screening. Yet this apparent success dissolves under causal scrutiny. The observed benefit reflects earlier detection and diagnostic redistribution, not prevention of cancer, nor modification of its natural course. PSA remains a low specificity marker that expands incidence through overdiagnosis, generating marginal survival differences and no effect on all-cause mortality. Key structural findings. PSA testing was adopted in the 1990s as a promise of prevention before proof of efficacy existed. The ERSPC and the USPLO trial were designed to correct that error. The 2025 NEJM update, spanning 162,236 men across 8 countries over a median of 23 years, reported a 13% reduction in disease-specific mortality, corresponding to an absolute risk reduction of 0.22%. However, the incidence of prostate cancer rose by roughly 30% in the screened group, showing that screening discovers more cancers rather than preventing them. The number needed to invite for screening to avert one death was 456. The number needed to diagnose, 12. Participation rates varied from 63 to 83%, while contamination in the control arm, men getting opportunistic PSA testing on their own, reached up to 30%. The median diagnostic lead time was 4 to 6 years, meaning cancers were detected earlier but not necessarily managed better. Crucially, there was no reduction in overall mortality. Both groups had a total death rate of approximately 22%. Overdiagnosis remained massive, affecting 40 to 50% of cases. These figures reveal that the ERSPC did not measure prevention, it measured time displacement. The mortality difference arises from diagnostic advancement in a subset of partially symptomatic men, not from a change in disease biology. Lead time bias, length bias, and participation bias intertwine to simulate prevention where only detection occurred. Evidence synthesis. The 13% figure corresponds to a rate ratio of 0.87, obtained via Poisson and Cox regression models adjusted for country and age. Statistically, this represents fewer prostate cancer deaths per 1,000 person-years in the screening arm than in the control arm. Yet the same dataset shows a proportional rise in incidence, no decline in all-cause deaths, and persistent cross-contamination, each element diluting causal clarity. PSA itself undercuts the logic of prevention. At the classic threshold of 4 ng/milliliter, sensitivity ranges between 20 and 40%, specificity between 85 and 95%. Lowering the threshold to 3 ng/milliliter increases sensitivity but floods the system with false positives, reducing specificity to nearly 60%. The positive predictive value hovers around 25 to 30%. Only 1 in 3 men with an elevated PSA actually has prostate cancer. These limitations explain why the ERSPC's statistical signal cannot be interpreted as biological protection. The instrument is too weak to sustain causal inference. BBIU opinion. From a regulatory standpoint, the ERSPC confirms detection efficiency, not preventive power. Policymakers should resist framing PSA screening as cancer prevention. Its function is informational, not protective. For the diagnostic industry, the imperative is to move toward risk-stratified systems, combining PSA with other parameters: PSA density, velocity, free total ratio, multiparametric MRI, and genomic risk models such as 4K score or PHI. Only such composite diagnostics can deliver sensitivity and specificity consistent with genuine preventive capability. For investors, the opportunity lies not in scaling PSA volumes, but in precision triage technologies. The post-PSA era will reward companies that confuse molecular data with imaging and AI-driven interpretation. PSA as a standalone screening test is already obsolete. Its survival is historical inertia, not evidence. Annex 1, prostate cancer, definition, diagnosis, and clinical algorithm. Annex 2, etiology and causation of prostate cancer. Annex 3, epidemiology of prostate cancer. You've reached the end of the open section of this BBIU content. The complete analysis, with full data, structural frameworks, and extended annexes, is available exclusively to our subscribers. At BBIU, we believe the real value lies beyond headlines, in the depth of structural intelligence that helps leaders and organizations see further. If you want access to the complete archive and future reports, join us at BBIU and take part in the next level of analysis.